everyone. So welcome back to Site Management Bootcamp. We are talking at the second section. So that is with respect to the sequence of activities, how it was taking place. Previously, we have spoken about the sequence of activities, the series of tasks that was carried out in residential buildings. So now let's get into the infrastructure. In infrastructure, like I already mentioned, we have picked up metro construction because it is usually happening widely all over the country, and that is why we have taken the sequence of activities that will be taken in the metro construction. Okay, so in this particular segment or in this whole section, we will be covering all of the units that has piling works, that is with the foundation part of the infrastructure. Then we have the pure works. So that is the above columns that you can see. Then we have the segments that is to be casted, that will be attached from one segment to another, how the segments have been completely different in viaducts and when it comes to metro stations. And then finally, where these segments are casted, right? So what are the activities that will be taking place in the casting yards? All of these particular things will be covered in this particular section. So firstly, let's understand what exactly these piling works deals with. Very basically, first you'll have to know what is a pile. So pile is actually a load-bearing member. So that basically transfers the load that is transferred from the superstructure on this particular load-bearing member. So broadly speaking, now we know that there are two types of foundations. One is the shallow foundation, and one more we have the deep foundation. So this shallow foundations, they're usually used when the bearing capacity of the surface soil is pretty much adequate for the structure which is imposing load on it. Whereas on the other hand, we have the types of deep foundation, where actually the bearing capacity of this surface soil is not really sufficient for it to transfer the loads that has been imposed on it. So when it comes to a regular residential building, the amount of load that is acting on it, it can be bared by the surface soil itself. Whereas superstructures like these metros or the huge bridges, this is where deep foundations would be required. The surface soil is not sufficient for it to carry or the transfer that particular load to the ground. So that is where pile foundations is one of the deep foundations that comes into the picture. Okay, so this is one of the deep foundation types, and it has got huge interest among the engineers who are actually working on this particular piling works currently, because a lot of things, a lot of construction activities are actually based on the piling works on a today's basis. It's like whether to take a very high-rise building, they are considering piling work, or in this infrastructure, and there are piling foundations that would be required even in the water conditions also. So like a construction of bridges. So in all of these various verticals, we have piling works that is actually taking place as a foundation for the deeper foundation. So now we have slightly have an idea about what exactly a pile is and what exactly a piling foundation is. Next, moving forward, let's see what are the stages that is there in the piling work. So now this is the whole stage. I will just help you showing with this cursor here. So firstly, we will have multiple factors to consider. What is the soil conditions, and what is the geotechnical history of that particular land? What is the water level that is there below? All of these considerations have to be taken firstly. So I will be I'll be talking them deeply about every single factor that we'll have to be considering in detail in the further slides. So in the first stage comes the drilling. Definitely, we have the drilling machines. So based on the soil conditions, firstly, the marking of the pile which is to be made, it will be done, and the drilling up to what is the depth of the particular pile is to be made, it will be noted, and then the drilling definitely takes place. So there might be chances that there might be a hard rock that will be over here. So complete before the piling work just starts, we will have to have a complete investigation on how the drilling work also takes forward without having any obstacles, basically. So this drilling starts from the surface. Now I will just show you, this is called as the pile casing. I think you can see this thicker line over here, right? So firstly, what happens before this drilling machine goes over, we have something called as this pile casing. So that is like a hollow membrane of the cast iron. So that will be inserted first, and then so that it guides the drilling machine to go on a straight line. That is why we insert this particular pile casing first, and then it will guide across. So based on the desired depth that is required, sometimes it will be for about 20 meters deep. Sometimes if it is required, it might go up to 30 meters deep. So based on the soil condition and the superstructure that is coming above the depth of the foundation depends on it. So once the drilling of the pile space has been made, so this is a whole empty space. Okay, so there will be one slurry that will be put up over here through the pipe. So, and that will be evacuated outside. So this is where the whole pile will be drilled. And then moving forward, we will have the piling reinforcements. So this is a whole reinforcement. So this will be a group of main reinforcement with 6 main bars, and then there will be spiral stirrups, which will be, see, these are the spiral stirrups that will be combining all of the main bars. So that is how the reinforcement or the BBS works with respect to the piling works takes place. And there will be one small cover that will be like a small stone of cement. So it is a cement stone block. So that particular cover will be put up over here so that this particular main reinforcement shouldn't be touching the complete corner of it. So that is the whole purpose of the cover that we will be providing. So the covers will be inserted over here. So it will be guiding through across without touching the boundaries of the pile that has been drilled. So after this whole reinforcement has been inserted inside the drilled pile space, then we start putting up the funnel. So in the third stage, the funnel will be inserted, and based on this, over here, either through the broom placers, we can start filling up with the concreting work. So once the pile is once the reinforcement is inserted, we have this particular funnel based on the depth of the pile that is depending on the concreting work begins. So just in case if it is a 20-meter, say for example, deep piling, so over here the concrete work starts, and this whole concreting work happens till the surface of the ground. So there will be extra reinforcements that will be popped up out, that is having an intention of the pile caps that will come under. See, now this is for one pile that I spoke about. Usually there are a group of piles that will be segmented. So it will be there with respect to, there might starting from 2 groups of piles up to till 5 to 6. Sometimes even the group of piles will be 10 in series. So all of these piles should be put intact, right? So they should have a uniform distribution of the load that it has been carried. So that is why they will be of an equal distance on both the sides, in both the X and the Y axis. So based on that, we will be having a complete pile group of piles, so that we will have a pile cap that will be coming right above it, and that will be transferring the load towards the pile. So next, moving forward, we have what are the various factors that we will be considering in the piling works. So in this piling work, definitely, firstly, as I mentioned about the soil conditions. Soil conditions, you will have to consider what is the bearing capacity of that particular soil. So what all activities has been taken place in the similar soil that has been there all in and around it. So these soil conditions have to be investigated. It is a geotechnical investigation basically. And then definitely the water levels. So water levels, what I mean by this is what is the groundwater level, up to what height it has been there. Because once the pile has been drilled, and in case if you come up with the water level that is there at a pretty much higher stage, then there is no point in you casting a whole pile there. So that is the reason water levels have to be checked. Then definitely what is the total load that has been transferred from the superstructure. Whatsoever kind of superstructure is coming above this particular pile foundation, the total amount of load that it can be transferred from one pile to another. So firstly, the superstructure itself will have a humongous amount of dead load. On top of that, there will be live loads that will be acting with many frequencies, especially metro construction. Say, for example, for every 5 minutes, there is one train passing by one track, and then in another next 5 to 2 minutes, there'll be another train passing in the opposite direction. So there is a lot of live load that it will be taking for every 5 minutes. So keeping all of these things into consideration, these piles have to be designed. Then moving forward, we have the vibration sensitivity. So vibration and noise sensitivity actually will go like hand in hand. So over here, based on the live load movements that I was talking about, the amount of vibration that is there, what is the settlement of the soil that has been happening. So it should definitely have a stable state below, so that due to multiple vibration, the piles shouldn't like just go even more down. It will be affecting the whole structure. So that is why piling stage is a very, very important state in metro construction. Then we will have to look for what are the available resources that has been there. So when you are actually having for the piling works, there you will have to see what is the source of the water that is there and what are the type of the soil that is available. So based on that, you can think of adding what type of admixture that is to be mixed for the concreting stage that will be there. So availability of the resources definitely comes into the picture. And then we have the time frame of this project. So keeping the whole project time duration, the whole project time length, we will have to take a small amount of time separately for pile foundation work. So that is one of the tasks. Now in these MSPs, there will be multiple tasks that will be segregated, right? So this metro construction, basically, it happens with respect to the length. So the length of the whole project is where it is dependent on. So just in case if it is a normal viaduct that is happening, so you will have to have certain set of targets that so many piles have to be drilled on these many days. So that is where you can fast forward with the execution and for the completion of the project. Then coming to the whole cost, what is the cost of the kinds of the grade of the concrete that has been used? Definitely highly graded concrete will be used for piling foundation, and the cost of it will be certainly a little high, because as high as M60 to M65, the high strength concrete which we spoke in the residential part, those are the high grade concretes that will be used, because it will be taking tremendous amount of load for every 5 minutes. And then I mentioned about the noise and the vibration sensitivity. So these are the various factors that you will have to consider before carrying forward with the pile works. So now coming forward with the types of pile foundations. So in pile foundation, it is basically bifurcated into two regions. One based on the application of the pile, the complete function or the uses of it, and then we have for the materials, the kind of materials that is used for the pile foundation works. So first, let's talk about based on the application or the functions of the pile foundation. Firstly, we have sheet piles. Sheet piles are basically used on these river banks, basically to give support for these retaining walls. That is where the steel piles comes into the picture. Then moving forward, we have load-bearing piles. Load-bearing piles are the ones which I have explained to you in detail about the stage-wise, the pile stages which I spoke to you about, right? That is where load-bearing piles comes into the picture. And then coming to end-bearing pile, we have just have a keen look at this particular image, the first image over here. So this is an end-bearing pile. I'll tell you how. The whole soil strata is actually divided into two zones. One is the weak soil zone, or you can call it the surface soil zone. And then you have the strong soil or the hard rock strata. So when the depth of this particular pile actually hits the hard rock strata, when it hits that particular surface, that is where the end-bearing pile comes into the picture. Just in case if it is floating in with respect to this weak soil only, or the surface soil, where the bearing capacity of this particular surface soil is pretty much stronger, in such cases load bearing would be sufficient. Then moving forward, we have for the friction piles. Friction piles usually happens, the settlement of these piles happen based on the load that has been acting on this particular pile. And then we have soil compactor piles. So soil compactor piles are also very much similar to the friction piles itself. The based on the load that has been acting, based on the weightage that has been acting on top of the pile, that is where the soil compactor piles comes into the picture. Now moving forward, we have for the pile foundation based on the materials that is used. So these are all pretty much easy to understand because as the name suggests, the timber pile, concrete, steel and the composite piles, it has been mentioned over here. Timber piles are the ones which is there with respect to the wood. So it is a natural form of pile foundation that we are actually using. Currently this is reduced because there is a lot of chemical or biological reactions that is happening with respect to this timber pile, and the whole durability of this particular timber pile keeps reducing. That is the reason it has been a little in reduction until and unless if it is a very small scale project that it is happening. And then when it comes to concrete piles in detail, which I actually mentioned about to you in the stages of the piles. Then we have this steel piles. Here you call it as H steel piles because the steel that is there, which will be inserted inside the ground, giving whole of the support for the superstructure that will be acting the load for, it will be in the shape of H. You can see over here. So this is the image, which is at the shape of the H, the letter H. That is the reason this is called as the steel H piles. And then we have composite. So composite is nothing but combination of both steel as well as the concrete piles that we'll be making use of. This is something called as precast concrete. So in precast concrete, what happens? The whole pile will be precasted in the casting yards, where I will be covering what exactly happens in the casting yard. So firstly, the pile will be constructed, and then it will be coming and we will be placing the particular pile at the pile hole that has been drilled. Okay, now let's move forward with some real images that is happening at the site. See, this was what I was talking about, the pile casing. So this is the first amount of pile casing that they'll provide, and then this whole reinforcement will be immersed inside. Then here there are some covers, pile covers. So that means that all of this reinforcement shouldn't be in contact with this particular casing. For that reason, we provide this. Then I was talking about how these piles will be grouped up. So now we have, this is a single pile that is there, and this is the extra reinforcement that we are actually mentioning it above. Then in this particular image, you can see it is a group of two piles. So over here in this particular group of two piles, there will be extra extensions of these reinforcement that will be allowed. And here, this is a wonderful image. This is with respect to the pile cap as well. So here you can actually see the whole differentiation. So the pile, the actual level of the pile will be below this. Okay, so that is the subground level. So after that, where the pile cap actually comes into the picture, and then you have these particular reinforcements that will be extended above for the support of the pier that will be coming up. So once this backfilling and all of these things are done, there is one small opening that will be provided for the pier, so it will be coming on top of it. This is one of the large scale projects that is happening. So this is a group of 16 piles. So starting from 1, 2, there are multiple combination of piles that is happening. I'll just play a small video regarding this drilling. So you can see over here, this is how the drilling machine actually drills based on the amount of the depth that has been algorithmically set with the drilling machine. So there will be certain amount of compactions that will be happening, and then it will be moved up. So the extra slurry and all of it will be taken out. This is the pile casing which I was talking, and that is how the drilling has been, drilling machine inserts itself inside. So next, moving forward, we have for the pile caps. Pile caps are nothing but these were the piles that you saw, a group of piles, or maybe it is a single pile. And then we have pile caps usually comes into the picture when there are a group of pile that has been acting, where it will transfer all of these particular load from one substructure to another. So pile cap is also one of the substructures which will come below the ground level. So, and see, This is the initial bed level. This was what I was trying to tell you in the previous image, that this is the first level of ground where the group of piles will have their reinforcement here. Then on top of that comes the pile cap. After this is where the columns or the piers that will be coming into the picture. So now the one which you can see here, these reinforcements are provided for the piers that will be constructed. Piers definitely in the next section I'll be talking to you about. And this whole section is going to be a pile. So I'm sure this is a group of 4 piles that is there below it. And this is how the whole reinforcement work, all the BBS works, that is the bar bending schedule works for a group of piles that will be working. So it is a hell load of work with respect to steel as well as concrete in mass quantities. That is what we will be working forward. So these are few of the images, and here this is a small video of a group of 2 piles, and where these reinforcements are actually provided for the piers that will be acting on the next stage. So by this we are ending the kinds of pile foundation that we have actually spoken about regarding what are the different stages that is there, what are the factors you will have to consider before the piling work starts, and what are the various tests that you will have to make with respect to soil investigations. And apart from that, what are a group of piles, what is a pile cap? These are the majority of the things that happens with respect to piling works. So by end of the session, I am hoping that you would have had a clear idea about what exactly pile work and pile foundations will be there under. So in the next segments, let's talk about the pier and the pier caps. So what exactly comes after the ground level, that is above the ground level. So till then, yeah, thank you.